So this week we're going to look at this portion, which is called Vaetchanan, where Moses, and it says, and I pleaded. Moses is begging God. And as I was reading it, I'm telling you, I got so excited. And I'm hoping that a little bit of the excitement that I got will reach out through the screen and grab you, because it is one of the most exciting portions that I have read. So let's take a look at this. Let me close this. And here it says, can you all read it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
It's okay, Miriam? You can see it?
Yeah, you don't, not all the Hebrew shows. It's very big.
How's that? Still not? Because I can see the whole thing.
No, I can. It's if you moved it over to the right a little bit.
No, to the right, you're not going to see it. It's to the left.
I
Okay,
mean,
are
to
you
the left,
supposed to
yes,
start
yes.
at verse 23?
Yes, it goes from Deuteronomy.
Okay, when I put the faces down, I could see, yes. I could
Yeah,
see.
okay. When I go at it goes from Deuteronomy 3, starting at verse 23, all the way to 7. So we have almost four chapters. So I may skip some of them, but I'm going to just read it in a way that you can all pick up on. Because as I said last week, here in this book, Moses is writing everything down that he can. And he wants the people who are left, this next generation, to get what their parents didn't get. So he said, I entreated the Lord at that time, saying, O Lord God, you've become to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For who is like God in heaven or on earth, who can do as your deeds and your might? Who do you hear speaking about God like that today? We don't hear it at all. I beg you to let me cross over and see the good land.
Sorry, except one person.
Who, me?
You, that's a given, and
Yeah.
Millie.
And Millie, yes. But here it says, he's begging God to let him cross over and see the good land. Imagine after spending 40 years in the desert with the people, and how many years in Egypt with them. And he just wants to go into Israel to see the land that's on the other side of the Jordan. But the Lord was angry because of you. He didn't listen to me. And the Lord said to me, basta, die, it's enough. Don't talk to me about this anymore. How often have you had to say that to your kids? Enough, leave me alone. Go up to the top of the hill, look west, north, south, and east, and you'll see with your own eyes. But you shall not cross the Jordan. But command Joshua, strengthen him, encourage him, for he will cross over before this people, and he will make them inherit the land which you see. So Joshua is going to be the next person who's going to lead the people. And we abided in the valley opposite Beit Peor. Now, O Israel, listen. Here, Shema. You ever hear that word before? Shema Israel. It's a little further down. Listen to the statutes, hachukim, to the judgments, hamishpatim. These he's referring to the commandments, the 10. The chukim are 4 and 5, which is the Shabbat and honor your parents, revere your parents. Mishpatim are the last 5, which I teach you to do so you may live. He doesn't need them. God doesn't need us to keep the Shabbat. He doesn't need all these things. We need them so that we can live. And to go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers is giving you. Although God is giving us the land, it wasn't going to be easy. They were going to have to work hard for it. God gives to us opportunities in life, but without working for it, He doesn't give us things on a silver platter. Now, this is really, really important, this next verse. And I want you all, please pay attention to this. Do not add to the word which I command you, nor take away from it, to observe the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Do you know how many religions have added to the simple Torah? to the simple 10 commandments, they all add their own opinions, books and reams of rules and regulations that have very little to do with the Torah. Contrary, this is literally taking the name of the Lord in vain. When they say that we have to do something and God never said it, that's against the third commandment, do not take his name in vain. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor. For every man who went after Baal Peor, that was paganism with Balaam the prophet, the Gentile prophet, the Lord your God has exterminated from your midst. But you who cleave to the Lord your God, you are alive, all of you, this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and ordinances. Again, chukim umishpatim, as the Lord my God commanded me to do so in the midst of the land to which you are coming to possess. So God wants us in the land to keep all his commandments. And you shall keep them and do them, for that is your wisdom. That's chokhmah, and your understanding in the eyes of the nations, who will hear all these statutes and say, only this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has God so near to it as the Lord our God is at all times that we call upon him? And which great nation is it that has just statutes and ordinances? Again, chukim and mishpatim, as this entire Torah, which I set before you today. So basically what he's saying there is if we keep them, we're not only keep them for us, but so that all the nations of the world, all the Gentile people will see and say, wow, this is a wise nation. This is an understanding people. That's not what they're saying about us today. Today they only have curse words for us. But beware and watch yourself very well, lest you forget the things that your eyes saw, lest these things depart from your heart all the days of your life, and you shall make them known to your children and your children's children. The day you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb. Remember, Horeb is a synonym for Mount Sinai. When the Lord said to me, assemble the people for me, gather them together, and I will let them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me, meaning revere, honor me, all the days that they live on the earth, and that they may teach their children. How many of us are guilty of not having taught our children? Because we weren't taught. And you approached, and you stood at the foot of the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire up to the midst of the heavens, with darkness, a cloud, opaque darkness, just like, remember in the last, one of the last plagues, Choshech, right here. That was one of the plagues. It wasn't really a plague. It was God showing that he's the one who controls the darkness and the light. The Lord spoke to you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no image, just a voice. And he told you his covenant, which he commanded you to do, the 10 commandments. And he inscribed them on 2 stone tablets. And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you, again, chukim v'mishpatim, so that you should do them in the land to which you are crossing to possess. And you shall watch yourselves very well, for you did not see any image on that day that the Lord spoke to you at Horeb from the midst of the fire. Now these next verses are really important. When I was involved in all the New Age, when I was involved for a while in Christianity, all these things are what we saw. Lest you become corrupt and make for yourselves a graven image, the representation of any form, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that's on the earth, of any winged bird that flies in heaven, of anything that crawls on the ground, of any fish that is in the water beneath the earth, lest you lift up your eyes to heaven and see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the hosts of heaven, which the Lord your God assigned to all peoples under the entire heaven, and be drawn away, to bow down, to prostrate yourselves before them and worship them. And you see in so many religions, so many ideologies, he's talking about astrology here. The sun, the moon, the stars, the hosts of heaven. Astrology. We're not to be involved in that. You look at the Catholic Church with all their statues and people bowing down to statues. I remember going here downtown to the Sai Baba Center, and they were bowing down to the statue of Sai Baba, who was an Indian guru, who they considered a god. And Jesus hanging on the cross, making a statue. We are not to do that. But the Lord took you and brought you out of the iron crucible, out of Egypt, to be a people of his possession as of this day. Now, I don't know if this is where it says Am Segula, but we are to be a treasured people. And the Lord was angry with me because of you, and he swore that I would not cross the Jordan. It's the second time he's reminding them. He's really upset. I'll die in this land. I will not cross the Jordan, but you will cross, and you will possess this good land. Beware lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make for yourselves a graven image, the likeness of anything which the Lord your God has forbidden you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a zealous, a jealous God. When you have your own children and grandchildren, and you'll be long established in the land, and you become corrupt and make a graven image, the likeness of anything, and do evil in the eyes of the Lord your God to provoke him to anger, I call as witness against you this very day the heavens and the earth, that you will speedily and utterly perish from the land to which you crossed to possess. You will not prolong your days upon it, but you will be utterly destroyed, and the Lord will scatter you among the nations. That's why we're in Canada. That's why we were kicked out of the land, beginning in Babylon. And you will remain few in number. It's amazing because if you look at the amount of people from India, also a very ancient people, 1.38 billion people. China, 1.4 billion people. And how many are we? 14.5 million people, continually. We will remain few in number among the nations, to where the Lord will lead you. There you will worship gods, man's handiwork, work, wood, stone, which neither see, hear, eat, or smell. From there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. And when do we seek God? When you are distressed. And all these things happen upon you in the end of days, in the end of our days. And then you will return to the Lord, your God, and obey him. He doesn't say return to a religion. He doesn't say return to Judaism, rabbinic Judaism. He's saying return to God and obey him. What we believe is biblical Judaism. There's a difference between biblical Judaism and rabbinic Judaism. And it's not that I'm saying this in a proud manner. I'm just saying that is what's written in the Torah. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not let you loose. He'll never abandon us. And he won't let the others destroy us. Neither will he forget the covenant of your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which he swore to them. That's why we're still here, because he made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For ask now regarding the early days that were before you long ago, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and from one end of the heavens to the other end of the heavens, whether there was anything like this great thing, or was the likes of it heard? Did ever a people hear God's voice speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? We hear people saying, oh, I heard from God. But we never heard an entire nation at the fire of Mount Sinai, all listening to God's voice. Or has any God performed miracles to come and take him a nation from the midst of another nation? Abram was a pagan. He took us out and made a nation, took a nation from the midst of another nation with trials, with signs, with wonders, and with war, with a strong hand, with an outstretched arms, with great awesome deeds, as all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. This story, the Pesach story, the Exodus story, is the pinnacle, is the whole foundation for our people to remember. And you have been shown in order to know that the Lord, He is God. There's none else like Him. From the heavens, He let you hear His voice to instruct you. And upon the earth, He showed you His great fire, and you heard His words out of the midst of the fire, because He loved your forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and chose their seed after them. And He brought you out of Egypt before Him with great strength, to drive out from before you nations greater and stronger than you, to bring you and give you their land for an inheritance as this day. And you shall know this day, and consider it in your heart, that the Lord, He is God in heaven above and upon earth below. There is no one else. And you shall observe, again, statutes, chukim, mishpatim, which I command you this day, that it may be well with you and your children after you, that you may prolong your days upon the earth, which the Lord your God gives you forever. So the world is looking for a fountain of youth. This is the fountain of youth. Observe his 10 commandments, and you will have a fountain of youth. Then Moses decided to separate 3 cities. Now, those were the cities of the refugees, where the murderer might flee, he who murders his fellow unintentionally, but did not hate him, that he may flee so that he may live. And then he names that where they are. And this is the teaching which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies, ha'edut, the statutes, again, chukim, again, mishpatim, which Moses spoke to the children of Israel when they went out of Egypt. You think they're important? And then it talks about how they possessed the land. And Moses called all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and ordinances which I speak in your ears this day, and learn them and observe them to do them. The Lord your God made a covenant with us in Horeb. Not with our forefathers did the Lord make this covenant, but with us, we, all of us who are here today, Jerry, Terry, Iris, Miriam, Peggy. He made the covenant with us. With them face to face, the Lord spoke with you at the mountain out of the midst of the fire. And I stood between the Lord and you at that time to tell you the word of the Lord. For you were afraid of the fire, and you did not go up on the mountain, saying, Here's what the first commandment is. I am the Lord your God, who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall not have the gods of others in my presence. Don't bring me those gods. Don't make a graven image, or any likeness in the heavens, which is on earth below, which is in the water underneath the earth. Don't bow down to them or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons, and upon the 3rd and 4th generations of those who hate me, but performing loving kindness to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. That's commandment 2. Here's the 3rd commandment. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him blameless who takes his name in vain. Here's number 4, 4th commandment. Keep the Sabbath day. Sanctify it, set it apart. Take 1 day off, as the Lord has commanded you, because 6 days you're going to work, and you're going to perform all your labor. But the 7th day is a Shabbat to the Lord your God. You shall perform no labor, neither you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your ox, your donkey, any of your livestock, nor the stranger who is in your cities. The ger. We don't have Shabbos goys This does not exist in the Torah. In order that your manservant and your maidservant may rest like you. We're no longer slaves. Oh, we could take off a day and not worry about anything. Just give it to everything to him. If you have problems, don't worry. They'll be there Sunday morning. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God took you from there with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. And here's the 5th commandment. Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God commanded you, in that your days may be lengthened, that it may go well with you in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. So simply by honoring our elderly, our parents, look what the promises he's giving us. Long life, and that things will go well with us. How many people do we know where things aren't going well for them today? Next, you shall not commit premeditated murder. It doesn't mean you shall not kill, because he knew we were going to have to kill to defend ourselves. Next, number 7, you shall not commit adultery. Next, you shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Don't speak anything that is going to ruin their character, because we are made in God's image. And last, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor shall you desire your neighbor's house, his field, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Those are the 10 commandments. Those are all that we need on this earth to live a life of light and bring and share it to others. If we live them and share them with others, we bring light into the world. If we don't, we bring darkness into the world. The Lord spoke these words to your entire assembly at the mountain, out of the midst of the fire, out of the cloud, the choshech, the opaque darkness, with a booming voice which did not cease. And he inscribed them on 2 stone tablets and gave them to me. These are the only words that are written in stone. Everything else has been written down by man's hand. These 10 commandments are the essence, the constitution for us. And it was when you heard the voice from the midst of the darkness, and the mountain was burning with fire, that you approached me, all the heads of your tribes and your elders, and you said, Behold, the Lord our God has shown us his glory and his greatness, and we heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We saw this day that God speaks with man, yet man still remains alive. So now, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we continue to hear the voice of the Lord our God anymore, we will die. For who is there of all flesh who heard the voice of the living God speaking in the midst of fire as we have and lived? Well, Moses went into the tent on a continuous basis and lived. You approach and hear all the Lord your God will say, and you speak to us all the Lord your God will speak to you, and we will hear and do. They didn't want to listen directly to God. They wanted Moses to be the intermediary. You go listen and you tell us. Today we don't want to hear him either. How many people really want to hear about what we're reading today? And the Lord heard the sound of your words when you spoke to me. And the Lord said to me, by the way, that's why those of you who are here today listening are special. I have heard the sound of the words of this people, that they have spoken to you. And they have done well in all that they have spoken. Would that their hearts be like this, to fear me, to revere me, and to keep all my commandments all the days, that it might be well with them and their children forever. Go say to them, return to your tents. But as for you, stand here with me, and I will speak to you, Moses, all the commandments, mitzvot, the statutes, mishpatim, chukim, and the ordinances, mishpatim. So the commandments, the mitzvot, are the first 3 that had to do with God, our relationship with God. The chukim, the relationship with ourselves. And the ordinances, the relationship with our neighbors. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your might. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That sums up all the commandments, which you will teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. Keep them to perform them as the Lord your God has commanded you, and do not turn aside, either to the right or to the left. In all the way which the Lord your God has commanded you, you shall go, in order that you may live, that it may be well with you, so that you prolong your days in the land you possess.
Beautiful.
This is the commandment. I know, isn't it unbelievable? I was so excited reading this. This is the commandment, the statutes, the ordinance. Again, mitzvot, hukim, mishpatim, that the Lord your God commanded to teach you to perform in the land which you are about to pass, to possess it, in order that you revere the Lord, to keep them, that I command you, your son's son, all the days of your life, in order that your days may be lengthened. And you shall therefore listen, Shema Israel. Be sure to perform so that it will be good for you, so that you may increase exceedingly, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, spoke to you, a land flowing chalav v'hadvash, with milk and honey. And here we have it. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. And the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your means, everything that you have. Don't hold back. Give him your all. And these words, which I command you this day, shall be upon your heart. You shall teach them to your sons, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. You shall bind them for a sign upon your hand. That's where they get the tefillin, and as ornaments between the eyes. They took it literally, but it was really meant as a symbol, meaning everything that you do with your hands, everything you see with your eyes, put him first. Inscribe them on your mezuzot, the doorpost of your house, upon your gate, which is why we have the Shema in the mezuzahs of our door. And it will be, when the Lord your God brings you to the land that he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you great and good cities that you did not build, and houses full of good things that you did not fill, and hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olives that you did not plant, and you will eat and be satisfied. Beware lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of bondage. You shall fear the Lord your God and worship him and swear by his name. Do not go after other gods. How many times does he have to tell us? The gods of the people who are around you. Oh my goodness, how I went after other gods. That's why I needed to turn back. I broke every one of his commandments. And I knew I needed to turn back, for my life was a mess. For the Lord your God is a jealous God, lest the wrath of the Lord your God be kindled against you and destroy you off the face of the earth. Why are so many people dying today? The wrath of God is kindled right now because of the moral degradation that the world is going through. Do not test the Lord your God as you tested him in Massah. Diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his edut, his testimonies, his chukim, which he has commanded you, and you shall do what is proper and good in the eyes of the Lord, in order that it may be well with you, and that you may come and possess the good land which the Lord swore to your fathers, to drive out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has spoken. He always promised to drive out our enemies. We didn't have to worry when we were faithful to him. But if your son or your daughter asks you in time to come, saying, what are the testimonies, the statutes, the ordinances which the Lord our God has commanded you? You shall say to your children, we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord took us out of Egypt with a strong hand. And the Lord gave us signs and wonders, great and terrible, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out there in order that he might bring us and give us this land which he swore to our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to perform all these chukim, the statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good, not his good, for our good. The statutes, the Shabbat, and honoring our parents, for our good, to keep us alive as of this day. And it will be for our merit that we keep to observe all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he commanded us. Now it ends in verse 11. When the Lord your God brings you into the land to which you are coming to possess, he will cast away many nations before you. All these nations, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, all these names. And the Lord your God will deliver them to you, and you shall destroy them. You shall utterly destroy them. Neither shall you make a covenant with them, nor be gracious to them. You shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son. You shall not take his daughter for your son. For he will turn away your son from following me, and they will worship the gods of others, and the wrath of the Lord be kindled against you, and he will quickly destroy you. So shall you do to them. You shall demolish their altars, and smash down their monuments, and cut down their asherim trees, and burn their graven images with fire. For you are here, a holy people, Am Kadosh. Kadosh means separate, holy, separated to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you. Here's where it says we are chosen to be his Am Segula, his treasured people, not like the other nations. He took us out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, not because you were more numerous than any people did the Lord delight in you or choose you, for you are the least of all the peoples, but because of the Lord's love for you, because he keeps the oath he swore to your forefathers. The Lord took you out with a strong hand, redeemed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Here, always referring back so that we would learn what happened there and never repeat it. Know therefore that the Lord, your God, he is God, the faithful God, who keeps the covenant and loving kindness with those who love him, and keeps his commandments to 1,000 generations. 1,000th in Aleph Dor in Gematria means for eternity, means forever. And he repays those who hate him to their face, to cause them to perish. He will not delay the one who hates him, but he will pay him to his face. And this is the last verse of this parasha. And you shall therefore observe the mitzvot, the chukim, and the mishpatim, which I command you this day to do. And that is our portion for this week, which I find absolutely phenomenal.
If the Torah ended there, that would be, it encapsulates everything.
Absolutely everything. And I was wondering, why is it so difficult for us to hear the words? Why was it so difficult for the people standing there at the foot of Mount Sinai? They didn't want to hear his voice. Why is it that we said we will do and we will obey, but then we don't? What is it in us that makes us not want to hear?
Maybe we just feel it's too difficult, or we can't do it, or we want to do what we want to do. Pride.
Well, that's what was the downfall of Pharaoh. Pharaoh's pride. Pharaoh considered himself to be a god. And here was a god, to him wasn't just another god. And in the pagan world, in those days, the tribes all had what was called their local gods. They would travel with them. There was a story of Rachel. Remember when Rachel left with Jacob, she hid the gods of her fathers, took them with them. We don't know if it was from the gold. We don't know the reasons. But She took each god was a local god, and they only covered their area. But our God was everywhere. He had no form. He was the only one. Because the others are not gods. They're just man-made statues, man-made images that are based on superstition, based on all these religions require appeasement. We cannot do anything to appease our God. If we do something wrong, we have to acknowledge it, we have to make it right, and we have to start again. We go back to Him. That's the beauty of the God of Israel. He's a God of mercy. And Iris, do you have anything to say?
No, no. It's very interesting. A lot of it comes back. You know, a lot of it we know. I shouldn't say that. But I've been going to shul all along. I went to Hebrew school, went to shul. I study right now every Thursday night with Rabbi Whitman. And these things are all there. Good. I like the way you explain it. You do a good job.
Thank you. Terry?
I agree with what Iris says. Here I am putting the light on now.
Terry, speak up.
Yes, 1 second. I just went and put the light on.
Okay.
It's dark. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yes, I agree totally with the way it's said. It's so beautifully explained. Yeah, I don't know why my there.
Is your camera off?
No, I don't know. I didn't touch it.
No?
Oh,
Oh, there you
Now
go.
you are.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I agree. All we have to do. It's so simple yet.
It is.
Yeah.
But how difficult is it to do these things? It's easy to be jealous of things that other people have. To say, oh, you know what, look what they're doing. I wish I could be like them. Or do what they're doing. Instead of saying, I'm really glad for who I am and where I am. That I am a special, treasured people. I am chosen for a purpose. I have a calling. You know, I don't know how many of us sense a calling on our lives, but I felt it very early in my life. I went down many paths, and maybe God allowed it for a reason, so that, because it seems to me that unless you have suffered, it's hard to call out to Him. When things go too easy, we think that, you know, things come too easy. But when we suffer, it's like you don't appreciate the coolness of the air unless we have the heat of the day. Look how.
Remember when? Did you ever see Ulysses or any of those stories, the Greek stories?
Hercules.
You know, when he's passing through, and there's the sirens and the temptations. It's very much like our lives. Everything shouts to us, and even to the song that the man requested. You know, I did it my way. It's based on such pride, but it's all very seductive. And we go our whole lives saying, I did it my way. I want to do this and I want to accomplish that. But when the sweetness, like, to me, God is like a beautiful brook. It's sweet but we're on this journey and we keep getting sidetracked either by sirens or, you know, we get taken off the track. It's really a pilgrimage. And I think we all have our exodus from Egypt. And we just, it's a constant journey, but a learning experience.
Yeah, well, one of the things that the rabbis say is that within us, Christianity says that we're born in sin. That's not what the Torah says, not what the Bible says. What it says is that God gives us life and death, but He asks us to choose life. So the rabbis will say that we have the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination or the inclination to do bad, which we see immediately when their kids are small. As soon as you ask a 2-year-old to do something, no, I do myself. I do it my way. That's our nature. So it's only when you really know and understand. Know, I'm talking about in an intimate way, that we know that there's a creator. We know that we know that we know that he's with us, that we can, that's when we really struggle. Because the people who don't have a conscience, they don't care. They'll do anything. It's when we have a conscience that we know that, no, this is wrong. I mustn't do it. There's almost like an inner voice, something inside that tells us that something we're about to do is wrong. But if we do it anyway, and then we keep doing it anyway, that's pride. And that's when it's like God told Pharaoh at the beginning, he gave Pharaoh opportunities to let our people go. But Pharaoh's heart kept saying, no, I am God. Who's this God to tell me what to do? Until his heart was so hardened that no longer could he see, and it not only destroyed him, it destroyed his people, it destroyed his family, he lost his son, and at the end he lost all his army, he lost everything. He was destroyed. Pride kills us, and we have to be willing to be humble like Moses, drop our pride, allow God to work in our lives. New Jerry.
A very heavy portion, eh?
Yes, it is.
Lot of things, like every portion. There's a lot of things in here, you know.
Yes.
And it's a little bit updated, eh?
What do you mean?
Mary, are you close enough to the mic?
I hear him
Do you hear
perfectly,
me?
Miriam.
No.
I,
Just a minute,
Miriam,
I'll make
turn
it-
up your speakers. I hear him perfectly.
No, it's only
Yeah,
Jerry who I don't hear.
No, I'm a little bit further that way. Just a touch. You okay, Miriam?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I'm not as clearly as the others. I hear you.
Okay, what were you going to say, Jer?
Do you hear me? I'll come a little closer. How's that, Miriam?
Better.
I'll come a little
that's
closer.
better. That's better.
Come closer. No, I'm saying it's
A powerful.
very, very powerful section, like all of them. But this is in the.
Yeah.
We have a lot of many things in this chapter. Many things. I think we could read this chapter and like any other chapter and philosophize on for a long time on this chapter. There's many
But
sections.
the most important thing is to see how we can relate it and do it in our lives. How do we make decisions and choices during our day when it comes to other people? How do we live among them? What do we do as literally to serve our God? Because we are a chosen people. What does that look like on a daily basis for us? Because it's not up in heaven, it's right here on earth. It's very practical.
I think if we just go through each of us goes through our day from and we see the little choices, like even riding on the bus, you can give your seat to somebody or you don't give your seat. You can get into a fight, as I often do, and or you don't, and it's little choices. I don't know. I can't even think. Do I watch this TV program, which is really, I don't know. There's certain things that I watch that are not good for the personality that I am. So do I watch it or no? I said, no, I choose, I don't want to walk that route anymore. Or even with what we eat, as simply as that. I'm starting to gain weight again. It was good for a while because I lost too much, but now I've got to make choices. I mean, and I have to think this is even my body is a gift from God. It's not just something that I could bandy about. It's a gift from God, and there's so many little choices we make. Am I rude to the person who's in front of me in the IGA line because they're taking too long packing their bags? I mean, there's just so many. This sounds so trivial, but I mean, it just represents things even in a bigger way. Like, what are the choices I make?
The choice we need to make is always to be a light to others. And there's times that we're not. And in that moment, when we're confronted with it, we need to turn around and make it right instead of trying to defend ourselves. You know, I was thinking as I was reading this portion of King David. King David was beloved of God. God loved him. And he did many psalms. He was chosen by God. And yet look what he did. He was home from the army, from the war. He was on his roof, the roof of his castle, and he looked down and he saw this beautiful woman, Bathsheba. And he wanted to know who she was. And he said, and they told him, oh, that's the wife of Uriah the Hittite. We read the Hittite in this recent portion. He was the son of Het. And he was a general in David's army. But David said, bring her to me, causing her to commit adultery, breaking of a commandment, putting his eyes where he didn't need to, coveting his neighbor's wife. And then when he couldn't, and when Uriah would not sleep with his wife when she became pregnant, he sent Uriah to the front, to the army, front to the war, where he was killed. Thou shalt not murder. So right there, 3 commandments are broken. And this is by our king who was beloved of God. But what did he do when he was confronted by Nathan the prophet? Or no, Samuel. I keep forgetting. I think it was Nathan. When he was confronted by him, he didn't say, I didn't do that. He said, you're right. And he got down on his face and he asked for forgiveness. He ended up marrying Bathsheba and their baby died. There were consequences for our sin, for the things we do wrong. But because God is a merciful God to the 1,000th generation of those who love him, which David did, he gave him this next son through Bathsheba, the same woman, King Solomon, who ended up building the temple. It was the wisest king who ever lived. So it shows that when we sin and we admit, we acknowledge, we have hope. That's the essence of the Torah, is hope. There's hope for the world. Like in the last year and a half, watching Miriam go through the hard days that she was going through, the difference was that she knew deep down inside that God was with her and that there was hope. When I had my worst days, I always knew something was out there that was going to come and rescue me. And that's what we have. Right now, we pray for Israel. Israel is in the midst of a war. Once again, they want to destroy us. Our God promised no outside nation would ever destroy us if we keep his commandments. The people of Israel today and the Jews around the world, for the most part, are not keeping his commandments. We don't want to have anything to do with them. When we talk about them, that's not for us. Let them choose somebody else for a change. When the Israeli army allows 3 abortions per year to the women in the army, they're condoning murder. And I know people will say, but we need abortion. No, what we need to do is teach abstinence until you're married. We need to teach moral values. We need to come back to the Torah, back to the commandments, so that we can live a good and long life in the land. And that's our portion for this day. Isn't it wonderful?
Oh, yes. A lot of food for thought.
A lot of food for thought. So Jerry, you want to do the Yivarechecha? Our
Okay, certainly. Are you ready now? Or,
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, yo'er Adonai panav v'elecha v'chonecha, yisor Adonai panav v'elecha v'yosem lecha shalom. And v'sami al b'nei Yisrael v'ani arvorachim.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance to you and give you shalom, peace. So shall they put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Thank you so much for being with the Torah this evening. And may we go out and be like little fireflies, a light to all our people around us. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Yes, be well.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
So long.